Hello and welcome to the first tutorial for using computer repair shop software. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to set up the database for the very first time. Right, first of all, once you've installed CRS software, double click the CRS icon on your desktop. So that will start to load in the background and it will detect that the database is not actually available. So it will come up with a message and it will ask you to create the database for the first time. So it's just still thinking, it's just looking for the database file and it's trying to make a connection. Once it knows it's definitely not there, then it will ask you to create a database. Here we go. Right, so no database configured. So this is saying it's not detected it, and it is our first time we're running it. So we're going to say OK to set it up. If you are already an existing customer of computer repair shop software, then select cancel, and you may need to just double check your database file, which you would find in your documents, CRS and database folder. Click OK. So now it's just initializing the database wizard. So I'll just move that over. So now we've got saying that you're a new user, which we are, so we're going to click on that. If you're an existing user, you've already got it installed then and you just want to use database wizard for testing, then click on that. You might want to test your connection. So for new users, click on first time install. So now it takes you to the next tab and we want to install SQL Server. So click on that. So it's just confirming that we need to make sure when we run it, it's going to give us the dialog for you to install it. Just select all the defaults. The defaults are pre-configured into CRS so that you can use CRS quickly and easily without having to worry about passwords or usernames. If you want to up your security and change your password, then no worries, you can do that also. But I recommend just sticking with the defaults. So SQL Server 2012 is just initializing. Right. So first of all, it will do a quick check. If you need to restart your machine, then it will probably tell you, or if there's any updates like .NET or anything like that, it will tell you to install them first. So if you do have to restart your machine, you just need to re-click on the CRS icon for the wizard again. Right, so there's no updates or any restarting of my machine, so I can click the next button. So it's just doing the SQL Server setup, so it's going to download product updates and anything else it may need. This will take a few seconds. So by installing SQL Server using the database wizard, it defaults everything for you, so you don't need to think about it. You can just hit next, next, next on every dialog page that comes up. The reason it doesn't do it automatically and hidden is because you might want to see any errors that may come up. For example, on that last page, if I go back one, it's telling about Windows firewall, but that's fine, I'm aware of that, and it's only a warning. But sometimes you need to restart your machine, and this will give you all the information you need. So we're going to accept the license terms. You can tick that if you want to send future usage back to Microsoft, but I will leave it unticked. Again, we're just selecting all the defaults. We don't need to do anything in here. It automatically selects what we need based on the database wizard setup file. So click next again. So now it's asking us to create a named instance. The instance has already been preset to CRS, so you can leave it as the default one. The reason we've got it use its own instance is so that if any of your applications use SQL Server, then you don't need to worry about it overwriting database files or tables. It uses its own instance, so basically it creates its own installation of SQL Server just for CRS. So now click next, again just accept the defaults. Installing SQL Server takes between a few minutes to about 5 to 10 minutes. If you have to restart your machine, it could take a little bit longer. So again, this is just giving you some information about the type of services we want. Just accept the defaults, it's all been pre-configured. Here you can choose to use mixed mode or Windows authentication. It's, again, accept the defaults. The password you'll see in the next section. I've defaulted the password as well. It's a secure password, but if it's only yourself using SQL Server with CRS, then just stick with the defaults. You can change it here, but you need to make sure you change it later, which I can show you. So again, accept all the defaults, and then just read and click the next button again. As you can see, there's nothing you really need to do, just accept all the defaults all the way through. Try to make it as easy as possible, but to give you the information, which you see what's going on. So in a second, it's going to ask you to confirm everything's been updated. So here we go. So it's now installing SQL Server. This can take a few minutes, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video at this point, and when it gets back, I'm going to restart the recording. Right, welcome back. It took about 2 minutes to install SQL Server on my machine. It's pretty quick. I've got quite a good machine. You can see now it says succeeded for the database engine and replication. We won't need, but they've all succeeded. So now we can close this, and now we've installed SQL Server. So now we just need to click the next button. So here, the host name, which is the local computer, will automatically fill itself in. If it's not quite right, you can select it from the drop down, but we're selecting the default one, which is the local computer. The name of the database is called CRS, which is part of the defaults when we install SQL Server. Again, where we set all the defaults, this is a user ID, which is this is the administrator account, and the password you saw back on the previous screen, which was a blanked out, was this password here. Again, if you're happy with the defaults and if you selected all the defaults, it should just connect correctly like that. So now we're happy, we can connect to the database we've just installed. Click next. Okay, so this area is for creating a new database if you're a new CRS user only. Clicking these buttons will actually overwrite your database and all the tables, and it's possible you could lose data. If you're an existing user, I highly recommend you back up your database before we even start. So click on button 1, this confirms SQL Server is installed. Takes a few seconds. Now click on button 2, it just lets you know whether the database is available. I've actually installed SQL Server a couple of times, so the database files are still actually on my machine. So I'm going to delete the database. Again, you don't need to do this normally. So I'm going to create the database. So that's gone green, and now I'm going to create the tables. So we're happy with the tables, and that should go green now as well. Yeah, because the database has now been set up. So click the next button. Once they're all green, you know everything's all okay. So click next to save. So we want to save our database file, and basically the database file gets stored in Documents, CRS Database. Click save and close. So now CRS can see the database, and it's now asking us to update the database. There's no data in the database at this moment, so it's going to put all the latest database updates. So this takes a few seconds, and once it's completed the entire database update, it will come up with a success message. This will ensure that you've got the very latest version of SQL, very latest version of CRS. Too many acronyms. Right, so now that's completed. We're going to load CRS for the first time. So what it's doing now, on the first time round, it takes a little bit longer because it's preloading all the configuration and all your admin settings. Next time you do that, this progress bar will go up very quickly. It doesn't take too long. So once all the settings have been loaded into the database for the first time, you will then get a login screen. So it's almost there. And what this is doing is just preloading the database with all the settings ready for first time setup and usage. Right, so we're almost there now. Right, so now that's configured the database, and if it's now ready to run for the first time. Okay, we're going to continue to use the free edition. Now, if you've got a license, then you can enter your license, load the license wherever you may have it stored. But we're going to use the free edition, so continue. So it's just explain that you haven't got a license. So the default password to log in is 1234. And the free license comes with 5 tickets per week. Let's just remind us how many we've got available. So this is now CRS running, and it's all ready to start using. And that is how to get the database up and running for CRS for the first time usage. What I recommend you doing for the very first time is just going into admin and then settings, and then just configuring your company information, your tax, and any other settings such as email, SMS. So using the settings screen. So if you ever need to go back to the database switches, you can by clicking on that button. Once it's set up, you won't need to. And everything else should be fairly straightforward. Just go through each tab one at a time, configuring it to how you want to use it. Not all features will be available in the free version, but you will get a very basic CRS and a very basic point of sale, and it should be ready to use with no restrictions other than 5 tickets per week. Okay, thank you.